it was so painful to listen to her
And she
sing.
sang a lot throughout the movie.
It's he's almost doing like a characterized like homosexual from like the 40s.
Because I don't remember how any of this is structured. I
Hi, am I going first?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, great.
Yeah, you're going first.
Okay. Hi, I was blind when I was born. My name is Doll Thighs.
And I'm the 0.16% of your body mass that is unaccounted for. Dorcas whore. And we're the final bros.
We're the final bros. And today we're talking about one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my fucking
It
life.
qualifies as a movie. I guess it qualifies as a movie. It's on
Yeah, we're talking about
film.
Cats, the musical movie from 2019. Truly the final horseman of the apocalypse before COVID-19 happened. And
Mm-hmm.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
What do you have to say?
I
What do
wanted
you
to
have say
preface
about
this by saying, like, we are not like we're not exactly biased. We love cats, not the movie,
like the animal?
but we love the animal. I'm gonna insert pictures here of our cats.
Yeah,
They're
I like
so
the
cute.
animal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, so I have seen this movie now at least 3 times. I think that was the third time I've watched it, tragically. But I've also seen the stage show Cats like 3 or 4 times, and I've also seen the original film production of Cats like countless times. So I do like Cats the musical. The movie, we'll get into it. I feel like this was your first time ever experiencing Cats, right?
I've known about Cats, the Broadway musical. I've heard a couple of the songs. I'm aware of Cats.
What was your impression of Cats before this?
I mean, I thought it was like from like the Broadway musical perspective, I thought it was like, it was like a cool Broadway musical that wasn't necessarily about the plot. It was more about like it's really fun, like dance and body movement and like crazy costumes and like it's like a spectacle of like acrobatics and dance and like music was like the focus.
Yeah. Which I do think the plot is what's fun about Cats, the musical, is that it has like a sort of deconstructed plot. So like let's start with like what Cats is. So Cats is a musical about cats, like that are played by people, and they are going to an event called the Jellicle Ball, in which is essentially a death cult.
Yeah,
Like,
the Jellicle
it's what it
cats
is.
are a death cult.
So they're going to a Jellicle ball where old Deuteronomy, one of the Jellicle cats, seems to be the leader of the Jellicle cats, is going to decide who dies. And they're basically, it's a bunch of songs.
It's a talent show to prove
Yeah,
why
it's
you
a
should get
variety
to
show.
die. They do say to be reincarnated.
Yeah,
So,
but that's the classic element of all death cults.
Yeah.
They think they're going to be reborn in like real death cults. They're not just like,
And
oh,
I
time
will
to
say,
fucking go.
Deuteronomy does send one cat out to their death and then bring a new cat into the fold. Be like, you are a Jellicle cat now. So it's like
In
they do
the
like
movie.
Oh, do they not? Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
No.
I'm talking about the movie here.
Yeah, we have. I feel like I'll talk about the musical a little bit, but yeah, in the movie version, yes, he does bring a new cat into the Jellicle ball, and that's Victoria. And this is, I would say, one of the biggest things that the movie misunderstands about Cats. So Cats in the musical version, basically like there's no protagonist really. There's no like in a typical musical, so you have your opening number where you kind of understand like what's going on, and then shortly after you'll usually have some sort of I want song, and that establishes your protagonist. Cats doesn't have that.
No, they just kind of
And
like wander in and like introduce themselves, and then they just like tell you about themselves and
mhm,
dance and song, and then they just sort
yes.
of go to the side and they don't really do much of anything else for the rest of the play for the most
Yeah.
part.
So, and what that is in a lot of musicals is it's basically called like an I am song. So it's basically
Hmm.
the character comes in and goes like, "This is who I am." And in a lot of like, especially children's musicals, this is the song that the villain will sing, like the Gaston in The Beauty and the Beast, or like I'm the Doctor song in like Little Shop of Horrors. Like that's more of like a villain thing. So like in a lot of ways, Cats, like the I Want song comes at the end. It's actually Grisabella's song.
Hmm.
The memory, it's basically, so it's kind of like a reverse where it's like we have a bunch of people singing almost like Disney villain type songs about who they are that keeps them very two-dimensional. And then in the end, we get the big like I Want song from Isabella. So it's kind of like a story told in reverse, which is really interesting structurally speaking. The problem with the movie is that we introduced Victoria as a protagonist,
Yeah.
and
Supposedly, I looked this up. Supposedly, Victoria is obviously a, I don't say obviously, but she's a kitten that's been
yes,
abandoned in the streets of London. So she's like
yeah,
all alone.
yeah, that was that thing with the person with the bag. Remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. It's the only
Yeah,
time we see a person kind of in the movie.
uh-huh.
Um,
And sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, she's in the streets, and it's weird because it's not like real London. It's like Cat World London because
No.
like all the advertisements. Also, I wanted to point out when we watched Tarot last time, I have
Mhm.
pages and pages and pages of notes front and back. I was constantly
Uh,
writing down things that were happening. I have less than half a page of notes because my brain stopped functioning
mhm.
mostly.
Fair. And that's, I think, I feel bad that I did this to you.
You should.
And
You should feel.
it's
I
mostly
I
because
wanted to watch Alien. I wanted to
you
watch
we're gonna
Alien.
watch
We're
Alien. We'll
going
get to
to, but I wanted
Alien.
to watch Alien, and instead we
But
watched Cats. You insisted.
I think the problem, first off, you put it on the list.
I put it on the
But
list. I didn't think we were going to get to
anyway,
Cats for a long time. I thought I had time to prepare.
well, we're fucking here now. The thing about this that I realize in retrospect that's so horrible for you is that you've never seen the musical Cats,
Hmm.
which a lot of people don't like. There are tons of people that think the musical Cats is just like a commercial spectacle and it's like there's nothing special about it. Whatever you believe about it, it's a very successful musical and for good reason. There's a lot of like the actual musical, like the music is difficult to sing and perform. There's a lot of dancing. It's very fun. And in a lot of ways, it's sort of like you're watching the musical to get to memory in a lot of ways. Like it is
Yeah.
fun, like it's fun along the way, but this was like this movie. I feel like it didn't understand anything about Cat. Like Tom Hooper truly did not
No.
understand
I
anything
don't think
about the
Tom
musical
Hooper
Cats.
knows what a cat is.
No, that is clear from the CGI. But also I would say the music itself, the musical direction is really weird. Like the music feels really like
Well,
flat.
yeah.
There's not enough instruments
The
behind
the
the
the, the
music. Like it's
instrumentation's very sparse and flat, and so they're singing kind of quietly in a weird way
yeah.
and not with a lot of feeling, not like a lot of energy. And then on top of that, it's a very bare bones like instrumental where there's like one instrument playing at a time sometimes. And I'm like, what's
Literally.
happening?
And also, I would argue that only about half of the cast can really sing, which
Oh
is
yeah.
wild because Angela Weber's music is like known to be difficult. Patti LuPone famously blew out her vocal cords multiple times when she was performing Evita. Like the
Hmm.
music he writes is like supposed to be hard to sing. And in the movie, they just kind of like talk their way through a lot of songs or just like don't hit any of the notes.
Oh no, they do not.
But I want to talk. Let's just talk about what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
So first off, we open with
We're
the
in like the
Jennifer Ball
alleyway where
song.
they
Yeah.
they they we introduce we get Monkastrap.
Hmm.
We get who else was there? Mr. Mistopheles was there.
They're pretty much all there, I think, except
Well,
Rebel
this is like
Wilson
right at
and
the
Corey.
beginning, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then so we get that whole scene where like she gets like introduced to several of the people,
Mhm.
and I also wanted to say that's where we get flashed our first cat butthole.
Yeah,
And
it
that
happened so
it
fast. The
really took
CGI
me
cat
out.
butthole.
And
It's
we
like
also get
right
introduced to the
away.
idea that's going to carry throughout the rest of the film, which is the scale is fucked.
Yeah,
Like things are
insane.
not the right size compared to a cat size. For some reason, a mouse is like compared to the size of a cat, it's like the scale of a human to a mouse is the scale of a cat to a mouse. And it does not make sense. The mice
Yeah, like the
people are terrifying.
well, they're also children, which is an insane choice. So like the mice are played by children, like
Hmm.
that seem to be like I don't know, maybe 10, and they're put through a horrible trauma as if like the movie is not traumatic enough. You like
Yeah.
experience the mice being like terrorized by Rebel Wilson as she rips her skin
Oh
off,
god,
which
that
we'll get to
scene.
in a second.
That scene.
So
We're getting there.
so it all happened so fast too. It's like I've seen this movie multiple times, and watching it again, I was shocked by how quickly we got into like the horror. This is a horror movie.
It's
So
terrifying.
they sing the Jellicle Ball song. And in Cats the musical, this song sets up basically the entire story. We're Jellicle cats, we're at a Jellicle Ball, we're gonna try to get to the Heaviside layer, which is their
Hmm.
idea of an afterlife or rebirth or whatever in this like cat cult that they're in. So that all happens, but it's all focused around Victoria in the beginning, which by the way, in the original stage show, Victoria is a character, but I don't think she has any real lines. I think she just dances.
I mean,
She
she's not
definitely doesn't have a
really a
song.
character even in the movie. She's just sort of
No.
around.
Well, and that's the thing. So it's like when we're talking about like I Want songs, she actually kind of does have a bit of an I Want song, but it happens like halfway through the fucking movie,
Yeah.
which is wild. It's why you have no attachment to her for like the entire film because like who is she? What does she want? Why is she here? Like who cares? We don't know. Meanwhile, everybody else is just singing about who they are.
Hmm.
So I think it goes right into Rebel Wilson's song, right? At the
I does it?
I
Oh
maybe
yeah,
she's the
yeah.
first one.
We get introduced to Rebel Wilson's
Jenny
character,
Any Dots, Jenny Annie Dots. I can't remember the
Jenny
lady's name.
Annie
This is the cat.
Dots.
I always hated this fucking cat. Even in the original musical, I think this number is boring as fuck.
It
And
was awful.
I feel like maybe Rebel Wilson like felt she needed to overcompensate and do a bunch of like weird physical comedy because the song's so boring. But it like none of it's working at all.
And once again, like I'm reading the description of the song. Once again, in most of the songs in the movie, I can't understand what they're singing. Like, despite the fact
Well,
that they're not being overwhelmed by instrumentals, the way that they're sort of like mumbling, talk singing their lyrics like out of time, it's very hard to understand. Apparently,
it's because most of these people aren't singers. Like I think Rebel Wilson
yeah,
can sing, but she sings
no,
it in a more
yeah,
of like a comedic kind of way. Whereas like this song is I mean in the original musical, it's just another song. Like it's not supposed to be like a sort
a
of like talk
dedicated
through.
scene.
I mean, I think it's a tap dance if I remember correctly. I haven't seen the original musical in so long. I believe this song is typically a tap dance because she brings out the mice and they tap dance or something.
Yeah,
And so in the original musical, she's like a big, like fluffy, like chunky cat, and she has this big, like chunky cat coat, like sort of like the cat's version of a fat suit almost. And when it's ready to tap, when it's time to tap dance, she like rips off her like cat, like fat suit or whatever. And I think that's why in the movie version they decided to have Rebel Wilson unzip her
unzip her skin and
skin.
have them tear it off,
Yeah, and she tears off her
which
skin to
happens
reveal a
twice, which
costume.
it is
It
just as
does.
terrifying the second time.
It does happen again later because there's an actual, like, sort of somewhat of a plot to the movie.
They
So
try to make a plot out of it.
in the movie version, they introduced Macavity, very quickly. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
the original musical, Macavity is probably the closest thing you could have to an antagonist. There's no real antagonist in Cats, in my opinion. Some people would argue everyone's an antagonist and Grisabella is the protagonist, but I would say that generally speaking, there's no formal structure of like this is the villain and whatever. But Macavity is probably like the most mischievous of the cats. And we don't even really talk about him at all until like Act 2, I think. Maybe.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really do a lot in the beginning. He just sort of shows up and he's like, I'm Macavity.
Yeah.
And then he just vaporizes Rebel Wilson, which is
Yeah.
unexplained at the time as to
He
what's
just-
happening.
Thanos snaps her out of existence.
Yeah, she just turns into
as he
dust. And I
goes,
thought she died.
"Meow."
Yeah, he also goes, he's like the only cat that actually goes meow multiple times, and he's the only one doing it.
But I kind of live for it though.
Oh, I love
honestly,
it.
Idris Elba was one of my favorite parts.
Oh,
of the
yeah.
fucking movie. Like the thing is, like, while this movie is an absolute shit show, there are people trying their best to make it work. And I would put Idris Elba in that category. I would put Judi Dench in that category. I would put Jennifer Hudson in that category, and probably Sir Ian McKellen. I mean, he has a small role, but like he still kind of does his best. Everyone else, I feel like they're just kind of like they're just there. They're just along for the ride. Who comes after Jenny Annie Dots?
They do like
Is
a
it-
really brief like introduction to some other characters that at the time I was not catching. But
Is
That's
it
where
Rum
we-
Tum Tugger?
well, that's what we get Rum Tum Tugger.
Uh-huh. Which the Rum Tum Tugger to me is the other place where this movie takes a horrible misstep. Adding Victoria as a protagonist is probably the biggest crime overall. It just completely messes up the entire structure of the story. But the Rum Tum Tugger he's gay. I mean, like it's like the thing about this movie is it's like they took everything about cats that was like a little fruity and they just
Like everything that's like
annihilated it.
actually sexy.
Yeah, sexy, but also like there is a lot of homoerotic stuff going on in Cats. Like it is notoriously like horny and homoerotic. That's like a big element of the original musical. And while a lot of people like joke about that and it's like, oh, it makes it kind of like goofy and funny and stupid, but it's like that's part of the appeal for any fucking little homosexuals like myself is like I want to see the gay cats be gay. The Rum Tum Tugger played by Jason Derulo is the most heterosexual Rum Tum Tugger I have ever seen in any production of Cats. Typically the Rum Tum Tugger is flirting with everyone, especially Mr. Mistopheles. So he's probably bisexual actually, I should say, because he does kind of like hip thrust into a lot of the women's faces as well.
Yeah. I want to reiterate. My main focus is the movie. I'm trying to judge the movie as a movie because I don't know the
That's
stage production,
fair.
and I'm trying to judge this based on like what I'm being presented as a film. I'm sitting down, I bought a ticket. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. This is all taking place. We skipped this. It's taking place in the milk bar.
Right.
We're in
right, the
London
milk
and there's a
bar.
milk bar with
Which-
different
what does
flavors
that
of milk.
mean?
I don't.
What-
Once again, we're in like Cat World.
Why
It's
is
like
this
Cat
happening?
World that's built to human scale, but it's Cat World because everything around here is for cats for some reason.
Right. Despite the fact that it's all for human scale.
Yeah,
And
like
there's supposed to
apparently
be
humans come
about.
here during the day to drink milk. I don't understand it, but it's like milk on tap. It's like
Yeah.
it's so confusing. But that's where Rum Tum Tugger does his like really like that's just the thing is I have seen a Rum Tum Tugger performance.
Mhm.
I have seen a performance of him. So he's like hip thrusting, he's like grinding, he's like grabbing himself, he's being super sexy. And in this one, he's doing like none of that.
No,
Like-
it was very unsexy.
Like they took out everything that was like sexy or queer coded or whatever, and they just sort of like neutralized everything, but then like made everybody freaks.
Yeah. Well, also the other thing that is definitely noticeable by this point is the CGI is bad.
Yeah.
There's inconsistencies everywhere. People's faces look different from like frame to frame.
Mhm.
Eyebrows are moving and filling in and unfilling in. People's eyes are melting
Well, yeah,
out of their
when Jason
face as they
Derulo,
turn the wrong
Rumtung Tugger,
direction.
looks at his reflection at the milk bar, his reflection is much less CGI. It looks way more
Yeah, it's
human.
just his. It's just
It was a
Jason
jump
Derulo's
scare.
face.
He was
Yeah,
terrifying.
and also I think I want to say in general on the topic of the CGI. I think this was just overall a bad direction to take cats. I think a bunch of CGI turning the cats into anthropomorphic humanoid cat creatures without but like they still to be seem to be in a human world but also built for cats. It raises so many questions more than just the original musical where you're just like, yeah, I have a bit of like I'm suspending my disbelief, these are cats for all
Hmm.
intents and purposes.
Yeah.
In this version there's so many more questions because like they're cats sometimes and sometimes they're really humanoid. I
And
think the
it,
other
it makes
thing
the fact that some of them are wearing clothes and like
yeah, some of them are
shoes,
wearing
and
clothes.
it makes that way more like, what the fuck is going on? Because like when you're just seeing them on like the stage and you're just like in the junkyard or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, whatever, this one just has a coat. But when you're in Cat London and they're wearing cat-sized overalls, and you're like, who made that for that cat? Because like he's wearing clothes. Who's making tiny
Yeah,
cat sneakers?
I mean, questions we'll never have answers to. So,
No.
um, what I was gonna say is also the hands. I feel like this is one of the biggest things. The hands and feet, they just didn't make a decision on what they were gonna do. So sometimes the hands are really cat-like and furry, and then other times they're just bare human
Sometimes
hands.
sometimes their faces like let's just focus on Victoria. Sometimes her face is
Uh,
purely white and blends into the fur. Sometimes she has like human skin face that is like
yeah,
pink, and she has human pink hands. And
yeah,
it's
and
like,
like
what's happening?
the makeup choices
Consistency
are
goes out the
also
window.
wild because sometimes they'll have a bunch of like human makeup on. Like
Hmm.
Victoria would wear like very like human beauty makeup, but then like Grisabella for some reason has almost like cat face makeup on where she's got like
Hmm.
all the weird white around her lips and eyes. Like it almost looked like she like was painting her face like she was in a regular production of Cats, but then
Yeah.
like stopped halfway through and just got like the weird foundation colors on. It's just so insane. It's so inconsistent.
It's incredibly inconsistent. That's the worst problem about all this. Inconsistent
Yeah.
scale, inconsistent like CGI, inconsistent makeup and cost. Like it's everything's. They just need to like stick to something, and they just don't.
Yeah. They needed to make decisions and
Yeah.
they needed to make better decisions. It's like I think my theory about what happened here, I believe that they left a lot of stuff kind of undecided before they started actually filming the scenes. And then I think because of the caliber and the cost of a lot of these actors, they
Hmm.
just they kind of were stuck with what they had already started. And it was like, I'm sure at some point, people were probably looking around going, this isn't going to work. This isn't a good idea. This isn't going to look right. But at that point, they were so deep in and they've already paid Rebel Wilson like millions of dollars. So they're like, what are we really going to do other than just keep going with this horrible direction? It's just so messy. Anyway, what happens next?
Um. After that, um, we get introduced to a few characters really quickly, like
Uh,
Bustopher Jones and Skimbleshanks. But
right.
then, like, that was very brief. And then we meet up with Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser.
Is that the
And,
order? That can't be the order. I feel like Skimbleshanks comes way later.
well, they like, we see him. I'm saying we see him.
Oh, we see him. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
That, like, we see him, and then we move on to, like, she meets Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, who apparently, they, like, take her back to their house where they start, like, causing mischief and mayhem.
Yeah, I think we've met Grisabella by now, right? Has she showed up at all?
Wait, did we meet
In
Grisabella
the
yet?
musical version, Grisabella is like the second or third cat we meet.
I don't think
It's
we have
very
met
brief.
Grisabella.
We kind of see her in passing in the musical. I
Oh,
don't know if
maybe we did.
I can't remember. It's like
No,
my
it's
brain is
after
so
it's after the Mungo Jerry Rumple teaser.
really that's
Yeah,
insane. Okay,
I'm literally having to look at like a scene by scene breakdown because I don't remember how any of this is structured. I
that's so
literally don't.
wild. I think Bustopher Jones happens first because Bustopher Jones and Rebel Wilson interact before Rebel Wilson gets vaporized. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
has to happen either right
It
before
does.
or
It
right
does
after the
happen
Vincent
then.
Tugger. So we meet Bustopher Jones, enter James Corden, the nuisance
Ugh.
of all recent movie musicals.
I didn't even realize it was James Corden until you pointed it out. I was just like, I
I'm
hate this
so
cat.
blessed.
And then I realized
I
why I hated the cat.
I have to say, I don't like this is like honestly, James Corden, I'm so happy that you're getting so many gigs, but
You
I
can turn
don't
some down. It's
understand
okay.
why. Like, I don't understand what does James Corden have on these like big Hollywood producers? Like, he has to have some sort of like blackmail or something. Because like, what
Or it's like, I don't know. It's like
what
those
about
people might
him?
find him like charming or something, but like no one else does.
I don't get it. It's like he doesn't fit the roles most of the time.
No.
He's not particularly funny. He's not a fantastic singer. Like there are so many like Broadway actors that could fucking sing and act circles around him. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're mostly casting from Hollywood people because it's a Hollywood movie, which is like that's a whole other conversation about how Hollywood can never seem to
Well,
make a
yeah, they
good
had
movie musical
$95
because they
million to
refuse
spend.
literally $95 million on this production, and they couldn't get like Audra McDonald or like I don't know, fucking like Patty LaPone, like get some Broadway people. The only person that I think really was up to par vocally was Jennifer Hudson,
Yeah.
and that's just because Jennifer Hudson is amazing and can do no wrong. Like everyone else, I was like, why do we have Taylor Swift here? Why do we have Jason Derulo? Like
God.
they're pop stars and they can sing, but can they sing Andrew Lloyd Webber? Like it's a bit of a challenge. Like anyway, so Bustopher Jones enters and he sings Bustopher Jones, which is a song that is traditionally it's supposed to be about like a fat cat and he's just a little chunky guy and he's very well off, he's very rich and he eats very well, and that's kind of his whole gig. In the movie version, they really took it upon themselves to add as many like fat jokes as they possibly
Mm-hmm.
could between like physical comedy and just like weird like improv that wasn't funny.
They really enjoyed letting James Corden and Rebel Wilson just have these weird like ad libs, like where they just
Yeah,
like these little like they're just like in an in between musical numbers scene, and there's nothing happening, and there's no music,
they
and
would
they would just
sometimes
cut to Rebel
stop.
Wilson, and Rebel Wilson goes like, "Cat got your tongue," and it's like,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
they would literally stop in the middle of a musical number to cut to Rebel Wilson and James Corden doing bad improv comedy. Like what? Why? Tom Hooper clearly thought that Rebel Wilson and James Corden were the funniest people on earth because he's interrupting entire musical numbers just to have them do like weird, like 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 the most tired fat jokes you've
Oh my
ever heard.
god.
And also, I would say James Corden is also doing like a gay character. Like he's almost doing like a characterized like homosexual from like the 40s. Like what? Why? Like
It was a choice, like many things in this movie.
yeah.
It was a choice. I really do feel like, especially visually, I feel like there's somebody at the top of this production that really had an idea in their head about how they wanted this movie to look, and nobody would say no to them. nobody would like be like, "Hey, I see what you want to do, but I think we can do it better." Or like, make it somewhat coherent or look not terrifying. But
Hmm.
everybody was too afraid to speak up on this production staff.
I remember when it was in production. Now I don't remember the specifics, but I remember hearing like stories about how even though it was such an expensive movie, like $95 million budget, they still didn't have the money to do the level of CGI they wanted to do. So they
Which
basically spent
I think the movie would
millions
have
of
been way better
dollars.
without as much CGI. Like, give me some more
Yeah,
practical sets. Like the fact that it can't tell half the
literally,
time, like what is
if they
actually
just
physical.
did like practical theater costuming with a good costume designer like Colleen Atwood, who did she's done tons of things, but she did like the Into the Woods
Hmm.
movie musical. She would have slayed this. She's such an incredible designer. She's like a many Oscar award winner, has done many musicals. Like she would have been great. She did Sweeney Todd the movie. Like she's a fantastic costume designer. Someone like her would have like she would have easily come up with a good concept. Although she did recently do the Little Mermaid movie, which I think the costumes in that were rough. But anyway,
But like
I think
I think
some
it would
like
have been way more successful to like pare down the number of like scenes, like the different settings of the movie,
oh
condense them
yeah.
into a few locations that you can really make incredible intricate sets for,
Hmm.
and give them good costumes that
Yeah.
are like upgraded versions of like the stage musical costumes.
Yeah. Alternately, they could have actually just done
Done
full
cats.
CGI cats. Yeah, like
Yeah.
actual
They needed to go
cat-shaped
one direction
cats.
or the other. It's like actual physical like just cats that are singing like the live
Yeah.
action Lion King movies.
Right, which would
Or
have been insane, but I think that would have had more of a chance of working.
yeah. Or just go like cuz like one thing that suffers in a musical that's all about dance and singing when you do this weird CGI bullshit is that
Yeah.
in like the insane camera work is I can't see most of the dancing most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody does like a fucking like a pirouette or something, and their entire body is CGI, they just become a blur of CGI for a second,
Yeah.
and you miss all of the like
Actual
the
body
eloquence
movement.
and the yeah, like the artistry of them dancing because their body is just a blur of bad
And sometimes I
CGI for
don't
a
know if they're
second.
actually doing an impressive dance maneuver and something acrobatic, or if it's just like CGI because people will just come flying in from like the ceiling, and obviously that's not real. They'll go flying
Yeah.
away, and I'm like, so if that's happening, and I know that's fake, I can't tell what anybody's doing is if it's real or fake.
Yeah, impossible to discern reality from fiction in this film. Um, After Bustopher Jones, I
Uh,
think that's
Skimble
when we
Shanks.
no, I think we get Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer then, which that number is wrong. I,
Yeah,
I'm I will stand by. There is one correct version of that song, and it's the version that they did in the original filmed stage production. That song has a couple different versions to it. The movie, for some reason, they decided to do what was essentially the original Broadway version, which is a really slow, toned down, really fucking boring number. Whereas the or sorry, no, that was not the original Broadway. That was the original London cast version. They changed it for Broadway and they made it like a big, more upbeat dance number with some acrobatic tricks and stuff like that involved.
hmm. Well, to
And it's
establish
iconic.
what's happening in the movie is Victoria meets these twin cats that are mischievous cats, named Mungo Jerry
They're
and Rumpelteazer,
uh continue.
and we get sort of once again the way they like move locations in this movie. They just sort of teleport around the city. You'll be in one place
Mhm.
and you'll be in another place. Suddenly,
Yeah.
she's breaking into the twins' house with them where their family lives,
I do want to
and
note
uh-huh.
something that you've said is extremely controversial in the Cats fandom. And
No.
yes, I'm aware of the Cats fandom. Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer's relationship is never clarified in any version of Cats. So there are people who believe they are siblings, but there are also people who believe they are a couple. And
Hmm.
while that doesn't matter to a normal person, in the Cats fandom where people ship the cats together,
Yeah.
there's apparently a lot of drama about this specific point because people consider shipping Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer incest, but then other people say, one, they're cats, so that's not unusual, and two, there's never any explicit mention that they are siblings. A lot of people consider them to be in a relationship.
I think it's
So
because
I
they,
just wanted
they
to
look
clarify that.
extremely similar. And
Yes.
in the Wikipedia right here that I'm reading about the film, it says that they're mischievous twins. So I'm going to go with that. Sorry,
Okay,
Cats
well, the
fandom.
film, the cats, the
I'm going
cats
with the fact
fandom
that I
are
interpreted
doxing
them.
you right now.
I'm interpreting them
The
from me
cats
watching the movie
fangirls.
as they were twins. That's what I got out of it.
All right.
So if you freaks want to interpret it some other way, go for it. But anyways, the twins bring Victoria back to their family's house and they start causing a
Right.
little mayhem. They're getting into all sorts of things and
Mhm.
they're kind of singing. It's very quiet. It's very boring.
Impossible to understand the
I could
conversation.
not parse what the song was about at first.
Yeah.
And they alert the family dog, who we don't see, thankfully. I don't know if it's a human weirdo hybrid dog or if it's just a dog. We don't see it. I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
I would have loved to know what the fuck that dog looked like behind the door.
But they sing their
I'm
little
just
song
will
and
haunt my nightmares. Never truly knowing what that dog should have looked like.
she wears massive pearls over her body.
Yeah.
Like a pearl necklace is huge, and then she wears rings over her arms somehow. Scales off. It's
The
terrible.
scale in this scene especially is insane because they're playing with all kinds of props in the scene. It's one of the few scenes where they're constantly handling props with jewelry and they're changing scene constantly. They're walking down a massive staircase. Like
Yeah.
the staircase has to be like 5 times a normal staircase for the cats to be that scale on it. Because they're doing
Hmm.
like entire dance numbers on one step. They each have a step to do a dance number on, which practically I understand why they did that, but it's like, how did you not check the scale
Yeah.
of how big a cat would
Because
be
it's
on
not
a
a real
staircase?
staircase. It's not a practical staircase. It's a CGI'd
No.
staircase.
But what I wanted to say about uh this number is that this is also where Victoria and Mr. Mistopheles start
They
flirting.
start flirting
Oh
because
wait, let me let me just say really quickly what the song is about
oh
because
yeah.
there is a meaning and a
Yeah,
reason to
yeah, yeah.
these songs. So Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer, they're the first antagonistic characters we meet. They're like low key villains, but they're very mischievous. They're not like
Hmm.
as evil as say Macavity, but they are considered
They're
sometimes
trickster
Macavity's like
cats.
minions. Yeah, so Macavity, they kind of are aligned with Macavity on a lower level. Um, and basically, the only thing that all the song is about is how they like to cause trouble, and the family will say, "Well, which was which cat?" And
Hmm.
they kind of like get each other in trouble for fun, and that's the whole point of the song. And it's a fun song, and it's normally great, but in the movie, it's fucking boring and terrible.
So yeah, like they're having a good time and Victoria's like having fun with them, and then she gets tangled up in the pearl necklaces and
Mhm.
they leave her there. They
Yes.
just abandon her there.
Yeah.
And that's where Mr. Mistopheles.
Yeah, Mr. Mistopheles comes to help her, protect her from the
Hmm.
dog, and they have a weird, like romantic type encounter. This is
Yeah.
the second time we're erasing the extreme homosexuality of Mr. Mistopheles, which
Hmm.
I don't have to tell you, just by his name, you know that is a gay person.
Yeah.
There's no straight man named Mr. Mistopheles. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not possible.
Like, if your name is Mr. Mistopheles and you are wearing a gay little magician's outfit and you are like doing magic tricks, you are not straight.
No.
You're just
Not
not.
even slightly. So I think at some point Let's see.
After that, they meet up with the group again, and they're going to the Egyptian theater, and that's where
Right.
you first run into old Deuteronomy
Mm-hmm.
because they're out in the street, and that's where Victoria does her little dance in the moonlight.
Right. Yeah.
And this is
And do
also
we
where we
meet?
see Grisabella. This is where we meet
Okay, so this
Grisabella.
is where we meet Grisabella.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to note we meet Grisabella in the musical, I believe, before Bustopher Jones. She's like right after the
Mm.
Rum Tum Tugger. So the why did they push Grisabella back so far? No clue. That's an insane choice. She's like the main character. So they meet Grisabella. Is this where Victoria sings with her? Or they just sing about Grisabella?
I think
This is where they do the song Grisabella, right? Where they're all singing
yeah.
about who Grisabella is.
Somebody's like giving Grisabella a hard time. I don't remember who.
Yeah.
But somebody's
So
messing with Grisabella and they're singing about Grisabella and um they talk about how she
Grisabella
like
the
had
glamour
it.
cat.
Yeah, because they talk about her like allegiance or relation to McCavity,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're like
Right.
implying that she's like bad or something.
Yeah, so in the original musical, it's never explained why Grisabella has been exiled from the cult. But
Mhm.
the entire point of Grisabella in the musical is that she just she's lonely and she wants to get back into the cult.
She wants to be touched.
Yeah, she wants to be touched. And so touching in the original musical is really important actually. So when in the end when she says touch me, it's so easy to leave me, there's a literal meaning to that because all the cats go around and they touch each other to acknowledge each other and they do a lot more cat-like movement and touching in the musical.
They don't
All
do a
of
lot
that
of
is lost
touching
in
in
the
the
movie.
movie.
They barely interact with each other in the movie, except Rebel Wilson and James Corden.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But they sing about Grisabella. So the whole thing with Grisabella is that, like in the movie, I guess she was friends with McCavity for a minute, and then they exiled her, and now she's alone, and everybody says not to touch her, get near her. Um, and that's that. And then we kind of move on for a bit.
Yeah, so like that's where like Victoria's like, oh, she seems so sad, and then
Mhm.
Grisabella like slinks off or whatever into the
Yeah.
darkness, and
And then we meet old Deuteronomy, right?
well, we already like old Deuteronomy's already been in this scene. Like
Oh, really?
she's like part of that scene. She constantly gets shown.
Okay.
That's where Victoria and Grisabella, not Grisabella, Deuteronomy meet, and that's where Deuteronomy is like,
It's like
"You're gonna be one of our members. You're gonna
we
become a Jellicle."
we just watched this last night and my brain was so scrambled by it. I can't even remember the sequence of events in the
No,
movie because
no,
I just conflate them
they don't
so
make any
much with
sense
the
together.
musical. Anyway, so they sing the song Old Deuteronomy at this point, right?
I yeah. Yeah.
So this song is one of my favorite songs from Cats. It's kind of that's an unusual choice, but I just think it's such a beautiful song in the musical. In this version, I mean, it's a song they sang. And it's just about how old Deuteronomy's old and he's the leader of the cult. Period. Right? There's not really much more to
Mhm.
say there.
Oh, I
And
think
in the
also that's
movie,
where she sang that weird ghost song. Was in the streets in the moonlight, right? Is
really?
that where that happened? I think that's where that happens.
Honestly, it probably did. You're
I think
probably
I think
right.
it is. 'Cause they had
Um,
that like brief interaction where they like sang together a little bit.
yeah. Was that
Sorry.
before the orgy?
I think so.
Okay, so
So I don't think
let's
we
just
see
go with that
Grisabella again
because
until she comes for her, song.
I think you're right. So there's an additional song in this version. I think it's called Beautiful Ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote this. I don't know if this was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber or if it was written by Taylor Swift. I think it was written by Taylor
It
Swift.
sounds like a Taylor Swift song.
It doesn't really sound like an Andrew Lloyd Webber song. Maybe they wrote it together. I don't know. But it's
It might
such
be
a
on one of the 40 different versions of the Tortured Poets Department that she's released at this point. I don't know. We'd have to check.
We're only on episode 2 of the podcast. You can't get the Swifties metas already. So which we'll get to Taylor Swift, please.
We will. We're almost there.
Yeah, honestly. So this song is such a bizarre song because like what even is it? So we have Victoria, which is this like protagonist that has really no character or desires or ambitions or whatever. She's just kind of like strolling through life and experiencing the cats. And she sings this weird song where she's like lamenting about the past, I guess.
Yeah.
But like
It's almost like she's
a
lamenting about Grisabella's past more than her own, it feels like. 'Cause she's like, I think she's talking
Right.
about Grisabella's beautiful ghosts, not necessarily hers, because she's a kitten that doesn't have
she's a
much
kitten.
going
So
on.
there's only so much she can have happening. I mean, her life started not that long ago. So I think she's kind of like emulating Grisabella and like empathizing with her, but nobody else likes Grisabella, so it just kind of like falls flat. And also, I'm gonna be honest, like this this performer was an incredible dancer. She could not sing.
Yeah.
Like, Victoria is traditionally just a dance role. So I almost wonder, did they cast a dancer in that role and then decide to give her a song? Like, why?
It's like, was she cast
they
and then
have-
they decided like she's going to be the main character?
Yeah,
And
like it was so
so-
insane because like she made perfect sense for the role as it was written in the original musical because she was a great
Yeah,
dancer.
she was a great dancer.
But she could not fucking sing. I mean, literally, like
No.
it was so painful to listen to her sing.
And she sang a lot throughout the movie.
More than I wanted her to.
Yeah. Well, like,
and I almost feel bad for the actor, but it's also like I feel bad for anyone who was involved in this, even Rebel Wilson, honestly. And that's saying a lot.
I feel like the change of like who they're choosing to be the main character might have to do with like I think it definitely heavily has to do with we're putting Taylor Swift in this film. We're putting the money for Taylor Swift, which means that you're getting a certain like younger female audience, and who do you want to have as your main focus as like the main character? Probably not somebody like Monkastrap, but they want to have like Victoria. She's, you know, a white woman in this movie. We can put her as the main character. They'll, you know, they'll like identify with that.
Do you think they wanted to make it Taylor Swift, but then she couldn't dance?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I just feel like that's an insane. If that's what happened, that's insane. But also, it's not unheard of. I mean, it would make sense that they were trying to appeal to the Swifties because Taylor Swift is in the movie. But I also just feel like trying to make Cats appeal to a like young, like pop culture consuming audience is very there's ways you can do that don't involve destroying the entire like sanctity of the film. In a lot of ways,
you can do it without involving James Corden as well.
100%. They do this all the time on Broadway. So like a great example is when Andrew Lloyd Webber did Sunset Boulevard. He had Barbara Streisand do a like EP release of, I think, With One Look. I think so it's like that's a really common thing that happens in Broadway marketing, where they'll have like a famous pop star or somebody in pop culture. I mean, obviously Barbara Streisand was more of like a well-known household name back then, so she was kind of a great choice. But like they could have easily just had like, I don't know, like Lady Gaga release a hip, like not hip hop, you know, like a pop version of Memory or something. Like that would have been better marketing than rewriting the entire film to make Taylor Swift fit into it. Like, why?
Well, we're right there because we get into the Egyptian theater and the cats are about like milling about and they have their weird like cat orgy, right? That's when we have that.
The Jellicle Ball song, which is a weird dance number that is typically interpreted as like like an orgy, essentially. Like the cats get really horny and they all kind of pair up and bang in this number.
Except once again, it's not sexy. Like,
no. If anything, it's horrifying.
Yeah, they do these weird like in tandem tail twitches.
Yeah, there's a lot of tailography in this one, which is so bizarre because I'm like, what were they told when they were performing this? Like, just sit there for a minute and we'll make your tails do stuff.
I don't
And what was the
know.
direction?
But they have a little cat orgy where they just sort of like dance around each other. And once again, it's
Yeah.
very like it's 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 like you say cat orgy because it like starts out very like, oh yeah, that's a cat in heat that's happening right now. But then like they're
Mhm.
actual like interacting with each other, it doesn't feel very sexy. It immediately gets dropped and they're just sort of dancing.
Yeah, they're like almost like ballroom dancing, but like
Yeah.
not really.
But then they get
It's a lot.
interrupted by
I would say
Whomst.
this is the most musical theater
Yeah.
moment of
Oh,
the
yeah,
entire
yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna
movie.
bring up here was like it was nice that the camera was zoomed out enough that I could see the
Mhm.
dancing for once in the movie.
Yeah.
I could see
Yeah,
the
because
body movements.
when you see a stage production of Cats, it's a lot of massive ensemble numbers with really difficult dancing, like
Hmm.
musical theater dancing on crack. So like to do a bunch of like close-up shots of blurry CGI cats spinning in the air, it doesn't get that same impact, and that's most of what the
Yeah.
movie is until this moment.
This was the first one where I felt like, oh, this is a musical. This is a real
Finally,
musical number.
an hour in, it's
Yeah.
finally become
We're
a
like halfway through
musical.
the movie and I get my first time where I feel like I'm actually watching a musical
Yeah.
and not just a weird like AI generated cats
That's the
movie.
thing. It's like they spent so much money on CGI, and it literally looks like an AI generated video I could make like right now for free.
Yeah.
That's
It looks
insane.
terrible.
Like, anyway,
Anyways, they're
so
they're doing their Jellicle dance orgy, and then who
mhm,
interrupts it?
the most sexless woman on earth,
Well,
Taylor Swift.
the description of the scene is a seductive femme fatale named Bomb Ballerina. I didn't feel seduced. Um,
Imagine you get that script, you're a producer, and you get that script, and it says a seductive femme fatale enters, and your first thought is Taylor
Taylor
Swift.
Swift. So Taylor Swift comes descending on a moon from like the ceiling, which is like a nice little set piece, I will say. And she's like sprinkling
Yeah.
her rhinestoned catnip on them to get them all like
Mhm.
out of sorts so that she can cause some chaos in her, she's
Right.
in her reputation era here where she's like, I'm bad. The only thing that's bad about her is her fucking accent. She like tries to have a British accent like half the time. And it's so no, everybody was afraid to tell her to
It's
stop doing the accent.
it's so crazy because like yes, most of the cats are British.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they're in London.
Well,
But
like a lot of
also
the actors are British
yeah, but also like
or
I
Australian.
don't think all yeah, it's like some of them were Australian, I think. I
Well,
think
Rebel
Mungo Jerry and
Wilson's
Mungo Teaser.
Australian.
Yeah, she's Australian. I think Rumple Teaser and Mungo Jerry, I think were maybe Australian. They sounded Australian. I could be wrong.
But
And then
Taylor
also
Swift comes in doing
someone
a
was American.
horrible British accent next to like Dame Judy Dench.
Yeah, literally. To Dame
to
Judi Dench.
Dame Judy Dench.
Literally talking to her in the scene in the worst
Ugh.
British accent. Like, oi, governor.
Literally though, but like it goes away when she's singing, and then she throws in like a random line. She's like, I forgot what her actual lyrics were, but like it comes in randomly, where it just
Yeah.
sounds it's terrible.
Like no dialect coach
No.
whatsoever on that film. They just I guess she just wanted to do like I don't know why she's I think she's the only person doing an accent. I think everyone else is just using their natural accent. Maybe you could argue James Corden is doing an accent, but I think it's more of just like a character voice type thing.
Yeah.
He's not really doing like a British accent or something. He's just doing like a dumb character voice.
Mhm.
But like she's the only person who has decided, taken it upon herself to try to do a British accent when it really wasn't. I don't think in a show full of anthropomorphic cats, I'm not worried about like what everyone's accent is. Like if it's
Yeah.
not, if not, it wouldn't even have registered to me if she just spoke with her regular accent.
Yeah, it would have been fine, but like she decided to try to deliver a British accent.
What did you think of her singing?
I mean, she's Taylor Swift. It's adequate.
Yeah.
For the film, she's better than some of the actors. Some
Yeah,
of
no,
them.
I honestly think I mean, I'm not a singer, so who am I to judge? But I think
What do you mean? We're on
from my
camera.
ear holes, it was less painful than most of the
Yeah,
singing.
when she wasn't doing the accent and she was just singing normally,
Yes.
it was
I
fine.
actually
I could understand what she was saying. She has heels on. She has
she has
literal
shoes, yeah.
kitten heels because she's
One of
like
the only
a
cats with
cat
shoes.
wearing strappy heels. I guess
What's
that's
crazy about it, too,
I
is
guess that's the sexy part of her character.
she's not wearing anything else.
No,
So
she's naked, but she has heels on.
And she's naked.
But she's the only one with the heels. The rest of the dancers that she's with don't have the high heels.
No, some
But
of them are
she's wearing them.
sneakers. Why are some of them wearing sneakers? What's that? Can
It was
someone
those
explain that?
those other two like twin cats that just have sneakers for some reason. Cat sized.
Right.
Like they were like
And I think
Converse high
Mustafis and
tops.
Buster Jones. Some of them have shoes. Like I think
Yeah.
Buster Jones had shoes. I just either give them all shoes or make them all barefoot. Like I don't need.
They either needed to
half
costume
CGI feet.
more of them or take away the costuming from others because it
Yeah,
just
and
gets
also-
weird.
On the topic of shoes, there's a point where Victoria does like a ballet like on point a little
Yeah.
bit, but barefooted.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, why isn't
So
she
her
in
feet are literally
ballet shoes? Like, why isn't she
edited.
in point shoes?
Well, it's because when she was dancing, she has point shoes on. Like on set, she would have
Does
point
she?
shoes on. I would assume because her feet looked CGI'd on to her foot.
I mean, I can't even. Anyway,
So yeah,
What
Taylor
happens
Taylor
next?
Swift cat drugs everybody up on catnip, and then McCavity finally shows up at the Jellicle Ball, and
right.
he tries to do his. Idris Elba looks. No one else looks that nude.
More naked than everyone else.
But they went like he's a solid color all over, and so he just looks naked, like distractingly
liked
naked.
it.
It was nice. No, nice is stretching it, but I mean, it was like distractingly like different looking.
Yeah, shockingly naked looking. It's
Shockingly
like when you take
naked
your dog's
cat.
collar off. And you're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, this dog's naked. Like that's literally what it felt like, except if my dog was like a human shape
Yeah.
and just covered in like a little bit of fur. It was
But like
really
this is where
unsettling.
he's like, this is my scene now, and I'm going to show why I'm going to be chosen. He's doing his whole
Mhm.
number about being himself, and
Wait,
what?
does he?
Yeah,
Oh right, cause whoa, wait. Yeah, because Taylor Swift sings McCavity right here.
McCavity.
Wait,
yeah.
did we skip Skimble Shanks?
We
Skimble Shanks
did
happens
skip
first.
Skimble Shanks. That happened sometime before.
Okay, Skimble Shanks he's the railway cat. He takes lots of
They
loads
teleport
and
to a
gets one
train.
on.
And they
Teleport to a
sing in the
train.
train, and then he tap dances.
Imagine you're on a train.
Yeah, imagine you're on a train. Because they suddenly teleport from the theater to the train to do this musical number.
Yeah, I forgot
And then they
about
tap dance on a giant rail that is out of scale, of course, with the cats.
Yeah.
And all the tap dancing sounds are added in post. Because they're not
Mhm.
actually being recorded live, I don't
Yeah.
believe.
It's also at one point they stop at the height of them about to do the big like Skimble Shanks, and they just stop to do a slow tap dance, which is insane. It
Yeah.
ruins the entire momentum of one of the biggest bops in the entire fucking musical. And then they do a tap dance, and it's fine. It's an okay tap dance.
It's
We
an
also-
okay tap dance.
Skimble Shakes is so irrelevant. It's just a fun song. But we also skipped Gus the theater cat.
Oh, wait, does that happen first?
Yeah, because once
Oh.
McCavity shows up, then we have to deal with the boat, which
Oh yeah.
we'll get into that in a second. So they do Gus the theater cat as well. Gus the theater cat is Asparagus. He's one of the sadder cats in the musical Cats. It's hard to not feel bad for this cat, honestly. Like, if it wasn't for Grisabella, I do think Gus the theater cat would be the one to go. Because he's just like an old cat who lives in the theater. And he's shaky
Yeah.
and he has palsy. And he's just like not well.
Unfortunately, old Deuteronomy just likes to watch Gus rot over the years and does not give him the relief and the release of death. She wants to see him
Say about
suffer.
old Deuteronomy.
She's fucked.
Yeah, she is fucked. I will also say, on the topic of old Deuteronomy being fucked, this is the scene where we have Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, a knighted, critically acclaimed actress, laying in a cat bed,
Mhm.
and she like lifts her leg up and like almost licks her coochie. Do
Yeah.
you remember that scene?
I do.
That happens during
I
this.
definitely remember that. Because I was the one that pointed it out. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Because Dame Judi Dench did not do that. It was CGI'd.
Double, or
It
did they
had
just
to have
CGI her whole leg in?
I don't think she kicked her leg up like that while laying down in a cat bed.
Such an
Which,
insane
once again,
moment.
she's wearing a coat that's supposed to be her giant, saggy skin that
Yeah.
drags along the ground as a train.
Yeah, she is one of the few cats that has a coat, I don't know, a cape situation. I also wanted to mention, so Gus the theater cat sings a sad song about how he's been in the theater for forever. He's very old, he's shaky,
And he's not
frail.
allowed to die.
He's not allowed to die. But this is one of the only moments that I remember them cutting a song. I think around here, maybe this happens earlier. In the original musical, there's a song called like The Battle of the Peaks and the Pollicles or something. I don't remember where it happens exactly, but it would have happened by now. And it's basically just a song where the cats put on dog costumes and they reenact a fight between dogs, a famous dog battle that happened here.
Okay.
It's one of the most insane and like irrelevant numbers. I'm so happy they cut it.
Me
but
too.
I feel like we were robbed of the horror of like what it would look like for these cats to be dressing up like dogs.
They just didn't have the budget for it.
But in the original musical, they grabbing like different like household items that cats would have access to, and it's very creative. Like that's what the fun of it. But yeah, they skipped that completely. I just wanted to mention that because that's not even mentioned in the movie at all.
Okay, great.
But it's fine. This
I'm
movie was
glad they
always long.
didn't.
Literally.
So
Great.
then
Now-
that's when seductive femme fatale Taylor Swift comes in
Yes.
and interrupts things,
Back
and
on
McCavity does his little song and dance, and then teleports Deuteronomy away for denying him death.
Somewhere in here, we also might have skipped this as well. So they're all being teleported onto this boat.
Yeah, it gets revealed at some
And being
point that he's teleporting them
tied up.
onto like a tiny little boat in the Thames, according to
Yes.
James Corden. The Thames.
And in this somewhere in here, this is when we get Growl Tiger's last stand, which I think was part of Gus the Theater Cat's number in the original musical. But remember Growl Tiger on the boat and he sings like a bad song?
Oh, yeah, I barely remember
Yeah.
that character. He's there
That
like
happens as
watching
well.
them, watching
It's
the prisoners.
Completely irrelevant. It makes no sense and has no purpose in the movie, except for to be boring.
So okay, so yeah, so that happens.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, so they want to get Deuteronomy back, and so who do they
Yes.
turn to?
Mr. Mistopheles.
Mr. Mistopheles.
Played by, I think, Eddie Redmayne, right?
Sure. I don't know who that is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh. I can't, I don't even. My brain just was so
Nobody in this
flooded
movie
with,
is
like,
recognizable
how do I
either.
even explain who Eddie Redmayne is? Right now, for Broadway people, for people who care about musicals, he's very iconically, or controversially, should I say, playing the MC in Cabaret. I think at the time of us filming, so I believe
Oh,
he's still
I've
doing
seen
that.
clips of that.
Yeah, which that's very controversial. A lot of people have feelings about him playing that role, but um, he's also very famous movie star. I think he was he in Les Mis as well?
I
He's
didn't
known to
watch
do
that.
musicals. Oh, we'll have to put it on the list. Talk about a
Oh
terrible fucking
God.
musical.
We can't turn this
Anyway.
into a musical channel. That's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. We are not turning this to a musical channel.
Anyway.
I'm not putting any more on the list for this year.
Yeah. Oh, but I really want to do the Who's Tommy.
Okay, next summer, great.
Anyway, so
So yeah, like the great Mr. Mistopheles comes in,
mhm,
and the great straight Mr.
mhm,
Mistopheles comes in,
yeah.
and they start singing his song. It was Munkustrap who
Yeah, Munkustrap
starts
sings the
singing
song
it.
in this version. In the filmed stage version from the 80s or 90s, I don't remember when they filmed that. I think they filmed it in the 80s. Um, I could be totally wrong.
Well, before we get
The
into the comparison, I just want to
Okay,
set up the scene really quick about what's happening in the movie. Because
sure.
Mr. Mistopheles is known for magic tricks. He can do magic, he can conjure things. He's mystical, magical Mr. Mistopheles. And
Mhm,
but he's very insecure in this iteration. He's
right.
very insecure,
Shy.
very shy, very demure, very mindful, and like he he's doing his best to conjure Deuteronomy back and failing every single
Mhm,
time. And they're like singing, and then like it's a weird structure because it swells and everybody's singing,
mhm.
and then it fails again, and then they start singing again, and then it swells again. And then he keeps
Yeah.
failing. And then what I
Mhm.
failed to understand was that his magic did work, but
Yeah.
they didn't show it working.
No.
Like
It happens like
he
off
tries
camera.
again and again and again, and then she just appears behind them. And so I
Mhm.
didn't think it was actually his magic that brought her, but apparently it was.
Yeah.
But it was very poorly communicated. But I will
Yeah.
say this is one of the better sounding songs from the musical.
Yeah, I thought it was a fine. I didn't feel
It's
like
one of the
it
better
was
ones.
they didn't do some insane disservice to this particular
No.
song.
Like it
It's
sounded very
less
full, like there were lots of voices happening.
yeah. I would say it's less like well executed than like any famous stage production
Well,
ever,
yeah.
but that could be said about pretty much
Any
every
other
song in
aspect
this
of this
show.
movie. Yeah.
So I think yeah, overall this song was fine. But my main problem with it is that the fact that in the musical version the Rum Tum Tugger sings this song, it's part of why the Rum Tum Tugger and Mr. Mistopheles are typically considered in some way having some sort of like gay relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because the Rum Tum Tugger loves Mr. Mistopheles. So this what annoyed me really early on too, when the Rum Tum Tugger was singing, and there's a line in the original musical where I think as a chorus a lot of the cats go, "The Rum Tum Tugger is a terrible bore," but in the movie that they gave that line specifically to Mr. Mistopheles to just instantly shut down any possibility of
Yeah.
these two having any sort of like
It's like they were
romantic interaction.
announcing like they're
Like
not
no
he's
homo.
not interested in him because he's interested
Yeah,
in Victoria.
the literal no homo moment. So anyway, so they give this song to Munku Strap, which I don't know if in every single version of Cats the Rum Tum Tugger sings this song, but in I think in most of the versions it's pretty traditional for the Rum Tum Tugger to sing the song.
Hmm.
I could be wrong,
Well,
but in versions I've seen he does.
it was kind of weird that Munkustrap starts singing the song, but then
Yeah.
Mr. Mistopheles starts singing about him. He like takes over and starts singing about himself, doesn't he?
In some versions, I think in the original London version, the I think Mr. Mistopheles does sing the end of
Okay.
the song. So I don't think that's I don't think that's completely unheard of. I just think
I just thought it felt weird that one character started singing about the character and then that character took over, because that doesn't happen throughout the rest of the
almost
movie.
ever, yeah, in the entire film.
In
Anyway.
fact, Munkustrap doesn't really do a lot of singing at all in this one.
No. So in the musical version, Munkustrap is typically sort of like the MC of the ball. It's like he's kind of the coordinator. So
yeah, it just
even
felt
though-
weird that he was like around a lot, but like he didn't really do
No.
anything.
It's especially confusing because Munkustrap doesn't have a song. Like
Yeah.
he kind of is the one who like he does a lot of like fourth wall breaking. Like he's the one who's like he looks to the
God.
audience and goes, "What is a Jellicle cat?" And like I think that's part of why they had Victoria there, is because like they didn't want to keep looking at the camera and doing a lot of fourth wall breaking. But there are other ways to solve that problem, I think.
It didn't stop
But
them
anyway.
from fourth wall breaking.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
into that in a minute. So great. So Mr. Mistopheles brings back Old Deuteronomy.
Mhm.
The world is saved, and
Victoria and Mr. Mistopheles dance together.
what happens to McCavity here?
They tell him in Bomb Ballerina teleport away back to the boat, right? And
Huh.
then that's where like
Just
Rebel
leave
Wilson
them?
and James Corden escape, because Rebel Wilson once again degloves herself to escape the
Yeah,
chains,
degloves her
to
whole
squeeze
body.
out of the chains. She does it again. She tears open her skin, and her skin is just there in the chains, and she just like wiggles out of it, and then they get
Horrifying.
freed. And
But what happens to McCavity? Why?
well,
doesn't he come
McCavity goes
and
back to the
return?
theater because that's when they go back to they want to go back to the theater, and that's where Grisabella comes into the Egyptian theater
Right.
because she's going to do her thing. And
Okay.
so she sings her memory song,
Right.
and it's the best song of the movie by far.
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson
Knocked it out of the
slays
fucking
vocals.
park.
It's so good. She's the only person who was correctly cast in this film.
Yes.
Like everyone else. I mean, Dame Judi Dench as Old Deuteronomy is a fine casting choice.
Yeah, it's
I don't
fine.
mind it. Sir Ian McKellen as Gus is fine. Like these are kind of like the roles where you don't have to be an incredible singer. I don't mind these songs being talked through because they're not like
Yeah.
show stopping. But like Memory was her version of Memory was so good.
It was I was kind of just like I was kind of taken aback just because like I knew it was going to be good because it's Jennifer Hudson, but like with how the movie was going already,
Yeah. It's
like the
what
fact
do
that
you
we got
expect?
a really fantastic musical number out of this movie, I was shocked. I was like, this
Yeah.
sounds amazing. What's happening?
I will say
I'm having
unfortunately,
emotions. I'm feeling things.
the CGI eating her face as she's delivering what could have been one of the best performances of her entire career was really tragic, I will say, because it's so distracting to
Yeah.
look at this Catwoman, and which maybe that's what we should do next. Should we do Catwoman next?
You want to do
Comment
Catwoman?
below.
We could do Catwoman next to tie into Cats. We can do
Sorry,
it.
the cats. Comment
It's
below. Should we
it's
do
one of my
Catwoman
favorite
next?
movies of all time.
But anyway, it's just the CGI is so distracting. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I'm writing that down.
So we sing Memory. It's the big climax of the show. It's the moment where all of the cats finally they finally empathize with Grisabella. They
Mhm. She finally
understand,
gets
like,
touched.
Oh shit. Like, yeah, like we're all sitting here like having these petty little songs about like how like in a lot of ways some of them are very happy. It's like Skimble
Yeah.
Shanks is just like happy living his life.
A lot of them
Like-
are kind of like bragging about how cool they are and how fun they are and how great their lives
Yeah.
are. And it's
And
like, why do you want to
Grisabella's
die?
suffering.
And then like
Grisabella is absolutely
Grisabella's
suffering.
like, I need to be reborn because my life is in shambles and it sucks.
Well, what's funny is Grisabella isn't even asking to be reborn. She just wants to be included. She wants to be
Yeah,
a
she wants to
part
be a
of the
part of the
Jellicle
Jellicle
Ball.
Ball.
So anyway, so obviously she's the Jellicle choice because if Old Deuteronomy picked anyone else, it would be insane.
Yeah.
So she gets chosen to be sacrificed to their weird cat god, I guess. And I will say, I have seen productions of Cats where Grisabella is literally like abducted into a spaceship. So like
Mhm.
I think sometimes people interpret this as like the Heaviside Layer is like being abducted by aliens. I don't know why. Like that adds another layer. But in this version, um, they sing the journey to the Heaviside Layer, and she's put into a chandelier,
A
and
chandelier with a
then
hot air balloon lifting it
yeah,
up.
taken into a hot air
Where these
balloon.
cats got a hot air balloon? Fuck if I know, but
Great question. And it just kind of sends her away.
she starts floating
Um,
away and they'll sing up, up. I don't know how
to
the
the
song goes.
heavy
Heavy
side layer.
side
Anyway,
layer.
what I want to say about this is that one time I did see a production of Cats where so in Cats there's like two ways that this sometimes happens. Sometimes they'll have some sort of like setup where she like kind of like there's different things, like there's like set pieces she'll get on and gets taken away or whatever. But in a version of Cats I saw, it was a touring production, they clearly didn't have like the fly space to do like a big set piece and have her walk on it and get her taken away. So they hooked her up to like just like regular like some sort of like belt to fly her, just
Mhm.
herself out of the scene. And I and in this production of Cats I saw, it was a touring production and it was like a Sunday show or something, so nobody gave a fuck. And they're singing the Journey to the Heaviside Layer, and there's clearly like multiple verses left, and Grisabella is singing with Old Deuteronomy, and she just gets like yanked away. Like whoever was supposed to fly her out just flew her out way too early and way too soon, and she just fucking flies out of the scene. And the Old Deuteronomy, like she has more like verses to sing with Old Deuteronomy. He looks over and she's just not there. I was dying laughing, and like other people in the audience were fucking like sobbing because they like she just sang Memory and it was so beautiful. But me and my partner were just fucking cracking up laughing because it was like so. I wish I was bootlegging that production. I've never seen anything like that, and I've seen a lot of theater fails in my life. Anyway, I just needed to share that.
That's amazing. I wish that happened here. But no, she goes
I
up,
know. I
up.
wish that's
She goes up, up in McCavity, tries to grab onto
yeah.
the hot air balloon. He's like dangling by a rope, and then he like gets dropped on a top of a statue.
On
It's
like a
like some
building or
famous
something.
statue in London. I forgot what it's called, but he gets
Sure.
dropped on top of it, and the rest of the cats go outside onto a lion statue. And this is where we
Right.
get um uh Victoria and Mistopheles like rubbing faces.
Hmm.
And then Deuteronomy decides to break the fourth wall and look straight into the camera and
Yeah.
deliver the final bits of the movie that went on for way too long.
Catwoman Dame Judy Dench sings the song about how do you address a cat directly to camera. It's like it feels like you're sitting there for like 15 minutes and she's staring you
Mm-hmm.
dead in the eyes and she's singing one of the most boring finales of any musical ever. Like literally the climactic moment of Cats is Memory, and then there's these
Yeah.
two like long songs afterwards. It's such a failing in like musical structure, but anyway, they sing
I
it.
think it would have been a lot better if they just ended on the the heavy side layer song where they're
Yeah, and just
sending,
kind of
and
fade
then they're
out
like,
and
yeah,
move on.
here's the cats. They'll all say goodbye until the next Jellicle ball. Um, but yeah, that's when Deuteronomy goes like, you are a Jellicle cat now. So they kill off one
Right.
member and they bring a new one
And they
into
get
the
a new
cult
member. Yeah.
because a death cult has to bring in new members as they send them out.
Right. And I feel like so the finale of Cats, the addressing of Cats is the name of the song.
Yeah.
Um it's almost like a moment where there's like maybe intended to be some moral. Um but it's like, what is the moral? Because it's literally just them explaining what a cat is.
I
Like,
don't know what a cat is.
like a cat is
Or I
not a
thought I knew
dog.
what I thought I knew what a cat
I
was
knew
until I
what a
saw
cat
this.
was.
I'm questioning it now.
Yeah, I mean, who could ever be sure? Um, I wanted to also say something else, but I think I lost it. Let me address my notes. Did you learn any lessons from cats?
I've learned how to not adapt a Broadway
Yeah.
musical into a movie. I've learned uh that just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
Um I didn't learn any I I don't know. I don't know what else I got. There I didn't get anything from this movie.
I always wonder with cats, and this is more of like the musical as well, because we were talking about how T.S. T.S. Eliot, that's his name, right?
T.S. Eliot, yes.
T.S. Eliot is very famously a fascist, racist, like monster. And
Yeah.
he, in a lot of ways, is like the source material for the Cats musical. Um,
Mhm.
so Cats, in his poems, the poems about cats, it's a very common thing in like literature and media where you're taking animals, like anthropomorphic animals, to teach children a lesson,
Yeah.
right? And like in his version in the poems, he's kind of teaching children lessons about like fascism and racism, essentially. Like that's the source material for this. So
Mhm.
it's like I always wonder, like, what lesson is Cats supposed to be teaching us and like children, I guess, right? Because in a lot of ways this is a child friendly musical, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
is a
I wouldn't want to
family
show this to a
musical.
child. They'll probably have nightmares
I
for
would never show
weeks.
them this movie.
No.
I don't even think I'd show them the original musical because it's so horny. But I think you could. I mean, it is just a bunch of
Yeah.
people dancing around in cat suits and stuff, but it's just so horny for some reason. Like I don't know why. But anyway, I guess it was the 80s, so everyone was doing a bunch of coke and being horny on stage. But like it's like, is the message about like joining a death cult, or
Is it about like uh, don't giving people
like
a
don't judge a
second
book by its cover? Like
chance?
the sad homeless lady on the street that you ignore could actually be the perfect human sacrifice for your death cult? Like what?
That's just it. At the end of the day, judging this as a film that I went and I watched, and I'm trying to judge it as its own thing. I don't know what it was trying to tell me.
No.
It's like completely void of like meaning.
I mean, I think when you watch the musical on stage, you really do come away like if it's a good production, it can be really like exciting, and like the
Yeah, I feel like if
spectacle
I
of
were
it
to
is
watch
so
like the Broadway musical
intense.
in person, I'd probably come away from it being like exhilarated. Like there was so much amazing dancing. It was
Yeah.
like high energy. I got to see so many cool things. There was pyrotechnics. There was some really heart-wrenching music at the end. Like I feel like I would have
Mhm.
come away from that experience with like that kind of feeling. But in this one, it's like I was just waiting for it to be over for the most part.
Yeah.
It's not often
Like
that in a bad movie I'm bored and I just can't wait for it to be over. Like
Madam
so
Web.
much of this movie was just like, God, how much longer is left?
Yeah,
Because
no,
the musical numbers were just dead.
this movie's almost 2 hours long. If it had been any longer, it would have been completely insufferable. I don't know if I
Hmm.
could have watched it. Nonetheless, watched it, I think, like three
Three
times now.
times.
I will say, in my defense, I saw it in theaters because I just felt like I needed to bear witness to it. And then I watched it later because I showed it to my friend because I wanted her to suffer.
Hmm.
And now here, I guess I just did that again. So, what does that say about me?
You like to
Watch people
share
suffer.
suffering. Yeah. You like to spread misery.
Yeah, I guess that's who I am.
It's like as somebody like I love bad movies. I really do.
You do. Yeah.
But like this one just it was insane looking, but like that novelty wears off after a while.
Yeah, it's
And
mostly just distracting from a type of film that's already it's already so difficult to grasp what's happening and why we're here. So adding an extra layer of like terrible CGI, it just distracts you even more. It's like if you have ADHD, this is just like a minefield of distracting things
mhm.
that completely detract from the entire like soul of the musical, which also I would say, and this is just Hollywood musicals in general, if you can't cast people who can sing the songs and who can make the music good, then why are you making a musical? Like it's my biggest
Dub
beef with
them.
Hollywood
Just
musicals
dub
is that
them.
I don't even think that's I think you should just cast musical theater actors.
I'm
There's
just saying
no
if you're dead
reason.
set on having these people in your musical, get real singers to sing and just have them dub it. I don't care.
See, I'm totally in the camp of cast Broadway actors
Oh yeah,
in
I that's my first
these
choice. I'm just saying
musicals.
if you're dead set on
Like,
having like a special like this movie was like tons of people who didn't know how to dance or sing, but
yeah,
I'm just saying like if you have like a you know like a Rebel Wilson or whatever in your movie and you really just want to have Rebel Wilson and she can't deliver on the vocals, just fucking dub her in. I don't care. Just make it sound
yeah.
good.
I think that dubbing is better than just having actors who can't sing. But I
hmm
also think that it's better to just cast actors that can sing. It's not that hard. There's also tons of Broadway actors that would love to do a movie of cat. Like it's like when I think of like what this movie could have been if they had just
It could have
gotten
been
like
great. It could have been
Aaron
super
Tveit
fun.
and like I mean I know a lot of people don't like Aaron Tveit, but like
I
there's so many
don't know
people
who that
like that
is.
that like you know who he is. My God,
No.
God, you don't know anything about Broadway stuff, do you?
No.
Ugh. You know what they should have done? You've not seen the Gilded Age. The Gilded Age is basically it's like a cast. It's like a Broadway cast in a in a TV show that has no singing. They should have
hmm
swapped. They should have the producers of the Gilded Age and the producers of Cats the musical. They should have just swapped casts. And then
hmm
like fucking Dame Judi Dench could have been like the old woman in the Gilded Age, and we could have had like Christine Baranski and fucking Audra
Who
McDonald
would Taylor
and all of
Swift
these
play in the
incredible
Gilded Age?
yeah, let's just be in the Gilded Age. She could be fucking Meryl Streep's daughter's role,
Perfect.
whatever her name is. I don't remember. I haven't seen that show in a while. Anyway, that my point is like it's like shows like that exist where it's like this is a massive budget television show and they're
hmm
casting Broadway actors because it's HBO and they care about performance over name recognition. And Hollywood needs to get on that level. Like if HBO had produced Cats the musical, it would have been better. I firmly believe that because HBO, I mean think of True Blood. It's like they cast a bunch of
hmm
people who are like extremely qualified, but not necessarily like household names because they want the show to be good. They don't care about you being like, oh, I'm going to go see that because Taylor Swift's in it.
I wonder just how much of the budget was Taylor Swift.
I wonder if we can find out. Hold on. Let's
How much
see.
was Taylor Swift paid
How
for
much did
Cats?
Taylor Swift make for Cats? Let's see. About $3 million.
Okay, so 3 of 35 million was just to get Taylor Swift in the movie.
Yeah, about $3 million allegedly is what Taylor Swift was paid to sing one
One
song.
song
Can you fucking
and do
imagine?
one
And
mid
like,
dance number.
you know who would have been great? Hold on. That's her name? Oh my God, what's her name? I have to look up the Gilded Age cast now because listen, the Gilded Age, if they had gotten that cast to do this, ugh. Okay, Gilded Age producers, if you're listening,
Do
if you're
Cats.
watching, if you're
Do a
listening to this
Cats episode
podcast,
of The Gilded Age.
do a musical episode of the Gilded Age where they just do an anachronistic production of Cats.
Yeah, just like Riverdale.
Because Oh my god, what's her name? Danae Benton. Danae Benton. If she, I know you don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Trust me, she's incredible. If Danae Benton had played Bomb Ballerina, I would have brought the house down. Her singing Macavity would have been incredible. Anyway, I
Could
saw
she-
her on Broadway in Natasha Pierre and the Great
She
Comet when
matched
saw
Taylor
her. She
Swift's
was
level of
great.
seduction, though.
Yes. Danae Benton could destroy Taylor Swift in seduction. You know who else? Oh my god, what's her name as well? Oh my god, please. Patrick Page could have been Mongoose Strap. And Kelly O'Hara. I'm proud Kelly O'Hara is in this fucking show. She's incredible. These actors are incredible at singing. Oh, I forgot Teza Farmiga's in the show. We can leave her out.
I don't know.
I don't think Teza Farmiga needs to be in Cats. Sorry, Teza. I think you're a great actress and you've developed a lot, but I don't want to see you as a CGI cat. Anyway, I've gone on a complete tangent.
Yes, you have.
Do you have any other final thoughts on Cats, the musical movie?
Just, I wished it was better. I wished
Yeah, just
this movie
do
could have been
better.
exactly the same. It just had better musical numbers, and I would have been more satisfied if it was just like the music was fun.
Yeah,
But it was just as a musical, it failed. As a movie, it fails. As like, it just wasn't an enjoyable experience at all on any level.
yeah.
It's like fun for
Honestly,
the meme of it all, but like if I had paid money to see that in theaters, I would have been pissed.
I felt insane sitting in a movie theater watching this. It was like like trauma. It was traumatic. I think my final thoughts are the production of Cats on Broadway right now, or I don't know if it's on Broadway or off Broadway, wherever it is, where it's like they're doing Cats the musical as a gay ball, like an LGBTQ New York City ball, and like they're all at the cat ball and they're performing for scores, and it's the same characters, but they're humans at a Cats themed ball. If they had done that as a movie, that would have been so much better. It's
Well, I bet in like
why-
20 years that'll be the new Cats movie.
God, and you know they'll fucking ruin it. Like
Yeah.
Hollywood cannot make
James
good
Corden will be in
musicals.
it again.
Please. It's like, why was
He's going to be playing the MC
Why?
this time.
It's almost like in Hollywood, if you just like musicals, you don't need any experience. It's like, oh, you're a Hollywood actor and you've done a couple movies. Great, we'll just put you in a musical because no one else wants to do it. Like that's literally what it feels like. I mean, think about how all the times, and don't get me wrong, I love Meryl Streep, and I actually do think that she's a decent musical theater actress. But it's like Meryl Streep is in so many movie musicals,
Yeah.
and I think it's just because she wants to be.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think people are going out of their way. They're like, oh, we really need to get Meryl Streep for this. I think she just really wants to do musicals, and she kind of has her pick of the movies she wants to do because she's Meryl Streep. And like, that's fine. And don't get me wrong, like, she's probably not the best choice for these musicals. Like, she's probably not the best choice for The Witch in Into the Woods and the main character in Mamma Mia, whatever. But I do think she delivers a performance that's so high above the normal caliber of Hollywood musical theater actors or musical movie actors that I don't mind it.
I agree.
But it's like it's just shows you that it's like it seems to just be like, oh, I'm James Corden and I'm kind of famous, so I just want to do musicals, so I just get to be in musicals, and that's just how it works. It's like Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick is in so many musicals. She's in Into the Woods as Cinderella, by the way, an insanely difficult role to sing. She's in The Last 5 Years as like the main character, which, while not as difficult to sing, it's more grating on my ears because I have to hear her sing more. And sorry, Anna Kendrick fans, she's not like that good of a singer. Like, she's okay. She's an okay singer. These people are doing their best. And they're getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
don't remember what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
I just wish that Hollywood gave a shit about musicals because
Same.
I can't remember the last good musical I saw that came out of like a Hollywood movie production.
It's been a while.
They're really bad. They're all really bad.
There's not a single Hollywood movie musical in recent history where I would be like, yeah, that one was perfect. Maybe Dreamgirls.
That was
Dreamgirls
not recent. That was
Yeah, it's like a couple decades ago, but that's the most recent one I can think of. Dreamgirls is
like Hairspray,
really good.
Dreamgirls, like those were the last like good movie musicals. And then,
Even Hairspray, I'd say, is
well, I think Hairspray
passable.
sounds good, has energy, has good set design, has good costume. Just like it's an event to go to. It feels like you
Yeah,
watched a musical.
John
That
Travolta's there.
I think it's his best role.
Really, not Carrie?
I think Edna Turnblad. I think John Travolta was born to play Edna Turnblad,
Yeah.
and I think he
Well,
delivered.
listen, I mean, that's fine
I'm just
in
saying
your
if you
opinions.
hold up Hairspray next to Cats,
Oh yeah,
Hairspray is
don't get me
like
wrong. Yeah,
a
it's like
real musical.
it is. Yeah, I think yeah, for sure. And most of them can sing their roles. So
Mhm.
it's not I'm not mad about it. But yeah, no, it's if I'm trying to think of like if I was gonna show someone a movie musical and be like, wow, look at this movie musical, it's so good. The most recent one I can think of is Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
Because it is good. Also, Jennifer Hudson won an Oscar for that. I think she hoped to win an Oscar for this, but I also have to say one final note about what happens. There's a moment where Victoria sings directly to Jennifer Hudson,
Yeah.
and
She has the nerve to
and
sing to Jennifer
I wrote
Hudson.
it down. What you said was imagine singing like that to Jennifer Hudson.
I did say that. I just can't imagine in person trying to sing to Jennifer Hudson face to
I know.
face. I
And
couldn't
also,
do it. I
there's a
would.
moment where she sings in memory, which I'm
Yes,
like, why
yes.
would you have
She
this?
butts in to sing in memory, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what are you doing here?
why are you here? Just let Jennifer Hudson have her moment. Like she's the only
I
person
said
here that
this
I
is
want
the
to see
reason why
sing.
she didn't get an Oscar for this song. It's because Victoria like just like wriggled her way into the song.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It was
Why was she there?
awful.
Okay, anyway, I feel like my brain is sufficiently rotted from having
Mm.
another viewing of Cats. I probably will never watch that movie again. I probably would have never watched it again if we hadn't done it for this podcast. So
At least we
hopefully
got
that's
it
the
out of
last
the way
time.
early.
Yeah, honestly, true. Having that on the list looming over us
It
for
feels like a
months, if not
threat.
years, yeah, it would have been stressful. So we did it. We did Cats.
Oh, I'm
Yay!
so happy. I wish I
um,
could unsee this movie.
same, but also now it's kind of ingrained in my brain,
It's
like
like The
permanently.
Ring where you see it and you have to spread it to somebody else.
It is though. That's exactly what I did. When I showed this to my friend Saber, she literally her throat closed up and she almost choked to death. She had like a full anxiety panic attack watching this movie. I don't remember why or at which part. But anyway.
So you decided to
Uh
try that on me. You're trying to take me out.
yeah, if I decided that but now that we finally have a podcast together, I have to be the star, so I have to take you out by showing you Cats. Any final thoughts?
Don't watch this movie. I guess we usually do like a rating
Oh yeah, what would you rate Cats?
out of like 1 to 10. How many fucking balls of yarn would you give this fucking disaster?
Uh, I would give it one just for Jennifer Hudson singing Memory.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
would say I would probably give it a I'd have to give it at least like maybe like a 3 or a 4 because like a 1 to me is something that's like unwatchable. Like there is
You thought this was more than a one? That's actually
I'm saying there's
wild.
value in knowing about it for the sake of pop culture and for Jennifer Hudson's singing role and
Mhm.
just to be able to bear witness to the utter insanity that is.
Yeah.
It's not high enough to be like you should watch this movie, but it's like
No.
if you're going to, there is something here.
I think if you want to watch Cats, watch the filmed theatrical version from like the
Yeah.
80s or 90s. Watch that. Um, that is the best easily accessible filmed version of Cats that I know of.
I wish they did that more often.
If you want to experience any part of this movie, just watch Jennifer Hudson singing
Yeah.
Memory.
If you're
all
going to
you
watch
need
it,
see.
just skip around. Don't sit through the entire
mean,
thing.
I don't even know if I'd go that far. I would say there's not really much else worth watching. I guess if
watch
you're a Swiftie, you
watch
can watch
Rebel
Taylor
Wilson
Swift,
deglove
too.
herself. Watch the seductive Taylor Swift descend from the ceiling. Watch Jennifer Hudson. And
Yeah, that's about
I
it.
think you have it all.
Oh, Idris Elba's hot.
Oh yeah,
but
watch Naked Idris Elba.
That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
please like,
yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah, like and
do all that stuff.
subscribe.
If you want to see us cover certain things, feel free to recommend things in the comments if you want to. We do have a Patreon as well.
Yeah,
We
go
have
to
a
the
Patreon supporter. We do live watch. We did this as a live watch party with our Patreon supporters, so we've been doing that now as well. So if you do want to do that, that's all linked. And also, I think in our Patreon tier, there's a more direct way to like recommend things for us to watch as well.
Yeah.
Right?
If you're one of our pectoral pals, you can recommend something for the monthly community poll, which we will watch during the month at some point and review.
And we'll also do Patreon exclusive reviews as well.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Check it out. Like,
Alright, great.
subscribe, share with your friends.
Or don't. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, great.